Are you really thinking about running for president?
I would hope somebody else would step up that's more qualified than me. But if it has to come down to me, it is something I would consider. Yes, I would, because I don't mind the thought of tussling with these folks at all, on the left or the right.
When it comes to politics, he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. People are already looking forward to the 2028 presidential election cycle, and I'm just begging you out there, can I have a break?
No more! I can't take it.
2024 knocked the crap out of me. I was hoping to get a little bit of a reprieve in 2025, but no. Some of you out there are starting to float the names of candidates, including the man you see on the screen, Stephen A. Smith from ESPN. Now, Stephen A., I love his position on the Dallas Cowboys. I appreciate his position on the New York Knicks and his anti-LeBron stance. I'm with him 100% on that. But Democrats are thinking and wondering really whether Stephen A. is the answer for their candidate in 2028. Now, this is still way early on, and while Stephen A. Smith has not closed the door on running for president, he says he'd prefer not to. But if he must, then he must, and he's leaving the door slightly open, as he discussed over the weekend on ABC News. We're going to go through this infatuation with Stephen A. Smith, where it started, how it's going, what insiders are saying, and really take a look at Stephen A. and his own disposition towards running for president. Is he the Democratic answer to Donald Trump? I think that certainly remains to be seen. But while we're having this discussion, I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the shows. And if you like what you're seeing here in this or any other video on the channel, you know what to do already. You're going to smash that thumbs up button. You're going to like, share the show with your friends, all that really, really good stuff. Because all that's going to help this channel grow via the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me.
The whispers of a Stephen A. candidacy started a couple of months ago, and it seems to be growing, especially since insiders like James Carville try to put a damper on it in favor of established candidates like Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, for example. By the way, thoughts and prayers to his family for what they've endured with this arson attempt that occurred from this leftist whack job. I hope he and his family are doing well. But back to the topic right now. Stephen A. hasn't closed the door. He's left it open a crack. And he seems to be talking the talk of a very Trumpian populist candidate only coming from the left. He doesn't seem to have an affinity to establishment politics as he displayed on ABC News. We're going to run through some of the comments he's made publicly, some reaction to that, and even Stephen A.'s reaction to those insiders trying to put a damper on what he may be doing come 2028. Before we get to this clip, just a quick reminder to everybody out there that we debuted Buffoonology 101, our weekly show where we decide who is going to be the buffoon of the week. It's a competition between me and Ross Galloway, and there's still time to vote on the first buffoon of this endeavor. Check it out in the community tab on YouTube right now. So let's get to the clip talking about Stephen A. Smith leaving the door open for a possible 2028 presidential run.
Just want to let y'all know where I'm at. Not interested in running. Hope it doesn't come to that. But I was told I owe it to all of us to at least leave the door open. That's what I did. By the way, this week, this Sunday, I'm scheduled to be on This Week with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. And practically every other network is called. They're apparently taking it very seriously. So I have no choice but to do so. It just comes down to that. It just comes down to that.
Now, we're certainly in the honeymoon phase for many candidates, especially from the Democrats, who are going to be jockeying for position when it comes to 2028. This is the time where a lot of pundits and people in politics tend to say that it's time to fall in love with a candidate until it's time later on to fall in line behind a candidate. Stephen A. Smith is certainly being considered. He's been outspoken on politics, and it's resonated with a lot of people. I've certainly put his opinion on the channel here. I've agreed with Stephen A. Smith. He seems to be a populist. He doesn't want to be sort of pigeonholed as a partisan. I can appreciate and respect that. And he doesn't seem to have time for political buffoonery, and that I can certainly appreciate. He mentioned his appearance on ABC this week. Let's go to that right now.
I saw you mentioned Bill Maher. I saw Steve Bannon was on with Bill Maher, and he was asked what Democrats he worries about. And you know what the only name he mentioned?
I actually have that clip. Let's go to it right now.
For a third term, is there any Democrat who scares you that he could be running against? Because I guess if we allow that, it could be Obama.
Absolutely. I think that'd be great. Alien versus predator. Let's do it. President Trump already said. President Trump already said.
That's kind of a worse insult to Trump.
If you want to bring President Obama, who I think has lost his fastball, but go ahead and bring him.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, all the governors you have, I don't think anybody will stand up to Trump. You're going to have to run someone like a Stephen A. Smith or someone in your kind of celebrity category. That'll be the Democratic nominee that would have the best shot at President Trump. But I think he's unbeatable.
So he did mention President Obama in the case of a possible third term, which Ross and I joked about on Behind Enemy Lines a couple of weeks ago.
I'm a believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump.
I now present to you for your inspection and consideration the third term project. I found this website, thirdtermproject.com, where you can sign up to support Donald Trump's third term project. So I guess technically Stephen A. was the only candidate mentioned that wouldn't be barred from running. So, okay, we'll give it to ABC News for that one. But let's continue on.
As a Democrat, he'd be worried about. So are you really thinking about running for president? Is this something you think?
Listen, I have no choice because I've had elected officials, and I'm not going to give their names, elected officials coming up to me. I've had folks who are pundits come up to me. I've had folks that got a lot of money, billionaires and others, that have talked to me about exploratory committees and things of that nature. I'm not a politician. I've never had a desire to be a politician. I just signed a contract extension with ESPN. I am very, very
pretty
happy
good one, too.
With my day job. I'm very happy with my boss. This is a pretty damn good one. Just right. It's a pretty damn good contract. I couldn't be happier.
And, you know, those hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever he's getting, I think it's like a $110 million contract. Good on you, Stephen A., for earning that contract and being a strong voice in sports journalism. But the thing about sports journalism is that when you're wrong on predictions, when you're wrong in analyzing an issue, the penalties to your reputation aren't nearly as significant as you are when you're a political commentator. When you're one of those insiders or you're one of those pundits or prognosticators or politicos that we often make fun of here. No one's going around tracking Stephen A.'s predictions from day to day because there's so many of them that he's making when it comes to different games, different leagues, different seasons going on. So the consequences for being wrong in sports, it's just an opinion. Everybody's got one, and not everyone is right all the time. In fact, probably people aren't right half the time. But when it comes to politics and the microscope that you're under, I think Stephen A. would find that the intense pressure on being right in politics certainly is magnitudes greater than when it comes to his own chosen field.
But here's the reality. People have walked up to me, including my own pastor, for crying out loud, who has said to me, you don't know what God has planned for you. At least show the respect to the people who believe in you, who respect you, who believe that you can make a difference in this country, to leave the door open for any possibilities 2 to 3 years down the line. And that's what I've decided to do. But again, whether it's Westmore, Governor Westmore, who I know, or Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, who I know.
Nice name drop.
I mean, he's kind of got the gift of gab going as well. He knows how to do those little drop-ins here and there. Pretty darn good. I'm appreciating his rap here. I'm digging it.
Andrew Cuomo, who I had the pleasure of interviewing, who's trying to get back in things, to be the be the next mayor of New York, etc.
Okay, now you lost me. Those of you who know on the channel, Andrew Cuomo, my mortal enemy. I got vendetta going on with him running for mayor of the People's Republic of New York City. I think he's an irredeemable buffoon. So there is a significant disagreement I have with Stephen A. But be that as it may.
I see a lot of people that obviously and clearly are more qualified than me. But in the same breath, when you think about what Trump is getting away with, when you think about what you brought up about Steve Bannon, who's trying to be slick because he's looking at a non-political individual like myself, looking at me as a populist, but you better be careful what you ask for, because some of the stuff that Trump and the right has been trying to get away with, like circumventing the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution, talking about how there could be a third term. Excuse me, be careful what you wish for, because if any GOP member, if any Republican supports that, I don't want to hear a word out of their mouth ever again about the following the Constitution, the Constitution, the Constitution. That's what they've been living off for years. And then you're talking about circumventing the 22nd Amendment, and you think that's cool? No way. That's not something that we should stand for. So I would hope somebody else would step up that's more qualified than me. But if it has to come down to me, it is something I would consider. Yes, I would, because I don't mind the thought of tussling with these folks at all, on the left or the right. All of them disgust me, to be quite honest with you.
And that's what I respect about Stephen A. Smith. He is not a partisan. At least that's not what he's portraying himself to be. He certainly openly represents that he comes from a left of center perspective. He's open and honest about that. I get it. But he is not one of these partisans who fight for the laundry that we've talked about here on the show. And I certainly respect that about him. If he wants to be a populist from the left, I think that if he gets up to speed into politics, he would probably be a formidable opponent for whomever would be the candidate in 2028 from the Republican side. But the Stephen A., I guess, trial balloon, whatever you want to call it, which has been around for a couple of months, certainly had a negative reaction from at least one establishment Democrat, that being that old curmudgeon that we featured here on the channel before, James Carville. And when we come back from the break, we're going to see what Carville said about Stephen A. back in February, when this idea of a Stephen A. Smith for president trial balloon first came to light. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
When it comes to politics, he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Damn! Carville coming in hot in reacting to a possible Stephen A. Smith candidacy for president. And would you expect anything less, really? Carville is an insider. He's been around for decades now, and he's one of the gatekeepers of Democrat politics. Obviously, he would want someone else from within the party hierarchy to step up and be the nominee. And that would be someone that he would probably be grooming, and he would be supporting someone like maybe a Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania or something like that. Clearly, Carville doesn't want the field clogged up with populists like Stephen A. Smith because they're wild cards. Think about Donald Trump back when he first ran for president. He was the wild card and sort of captured lightning in a bottle and just tore through the Republican field to get the nomination to run against Hillary Clinton. Could Stephen A. Smith do the same thing on the Democrat side and really turn that party on its ear, turn things upside down, turn the power structure upside down? In my opinion, Democrats find comfort in their power structure, in their hierarchy. And when that monolith gets disrupted by someone, whether it be a Bernie Sanders or a John Fetterman, they do everything they can to tamp down that energy, possibly coming from the grassroots or coming from outside the party apparatus.
The nail that sticks out gets hammered.
Seems like Carville is trying to nip Stephen A.'s possible chances right in the bud here.
He's on that running his goddamn mouth about how he may have to run as a Democrat because there's nothing left of the Democratic Party. There's no talent. Stephen A., are you shitting me?
Language.
See, it's exactly what I thought it was. Carville is trying to defend the Democrat brand and tout those within the party that he believes could be the nominee in 2028. He's being a gatekeeper.
I mean, you say you're friends with Wes Moore and you say you're friends with Josh Shapiro. I'm friends with both of them. I think they're really extraordinary, talented people. I got news for you, dude. There's 6 or 7 other people in the Democratic Party that are just that talented. So before you start running your fucking mouth off about politics, a topic of which you really don't know anything about, you ought to sit back and think about it and call some people and run it by them. But don't let your political stupidity stand in the way of your outspoken and I think often insightful views when it comes to American sports, of which I think you are an expert at. And if you know Wes and you know Josh, you should call them and run your opinions by them, because I know both of them and they're both smart guys and they're both very ambitious guys. And the last thing that they're thinking is, if I decide that I want to take the next step in American politics, I'm going to be facing some brutal, brutal opposition. And they both know that. And they know it deep down and they know it well. So Stephen A., keep up your shit on sports. I enjoy it. I like it, but don't make a fool of yourself anymore in talking about politics.
Basically, Carville just told Stephen A. Smith, stay in your lane. You're getting in over your head when it comes to politics. Mind you, this is the same James Carville that predicted that Kamala Harris was going to win the presidency and was backing her the whole time, saying she had the money, she had the momentum, and it turned out to be nothing of the sort. I think maybe he's a little threatened by the possibility of a popular national figure like Stephen A. Smith jumping into politics. And this gatekeeping seems like an effort to stop another energetic, enthusiastic person from coming into the Democrat Party. Why would Democrats turn down energy and enthusiasm? Because it's all about control. It's all about whether or not the party apparatus, the party leadership, can control the candidate. And Stephen A. Smith, based upon the statements we heard from him on ABC this week, he doesn't fit the bill for that. He doesn't seem like a controllable person, the least of which from someone like James Carville. And if you needed further proof to show that Stephen A. Smith would not be controlled by insiders like James Carville, take a listen to this.
Do you know what kind of havoc I'd wreak if I sat down for a few weeks and just buried my brain and my face and my mind into the nuances of politics and what transpires on Capitol Hill? Are y'all sure y'all want that smoke? You sure about that? I mean, because it's like you're daring me to, Mr. James Carville. It's like you're daring me to. You sure? Are you sure? Might want to think about that. Because you see, when you sit back and you allow your ire to subside and you embrace the true, authentic words that I was spewing, I wasn't questioning Josh Shapiro. I wasn't questioning Wes Moore. I'm not even questioning somebody like Harold Ford Jr., who works on the 5 on Fox News. I think that the composure that he shows and what have you, he's a former representative. I think he could do some good things. All of these people are more qualified than me. All of them are more knowledgeable than me. How difficult is it to get knowledgeable about politics if I really, really wanted to make some noise? All it takes is a few weeks and a few phone calls with people that I can clearly talk to because I got them on speed dial. It ain't that hard. It's just not a lane I want to venture into in an official capacity. I'd much rather remain a pundit and a commentator. But if you really, really think, James Carville, about what I said, you've been saying the exact same things. Which brings me to the culminating point of my diatribe. that, dare I say, might make you a bit uncomfortable. Is what I said really the problem? Since most of what I've said are things that I also heard you say? Or is it the fact that some novice who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the wall when it comes to politics is resonating in the political stratosphere more than you?
Damn! That right there, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between, whether you like it or not, is some Trumpian energy coming from the left. It feels to me like Donald Trump and Stephen A. Smith would be cut from the same cloth, that they both observe problems from the outside looking in, and they don't care about the solutions coming from within, because those partisans like James Carville, they had their chance. They had their moment to try to fix things, and they chose to act in a partisan way rather than in a problem-solving manner. Donald Trump has been doing what he thinks is the best for solving problems in government, whether it be with Doge or whether it be with his vision to sort of remake the global marketplace. Whether you agree with him or not, he is looking to do reforms. I think Stephen A. Smith would be doing the same thing, only from the left. And I think that scares the crap out of people like James Carville, because they can't control Donald Trump, but it's really the Republicans' problem to try to, quote unquote, control him and manage him. If they had a firebrand like Stephen A. Smith just come out of nowhere and smash through the Democrat field, and he's clearly more of a populist than he is a partisan, then it would be a really interesting task to see Democrats trying to pull him to the left to toe their partisan line. And I don't think that would happen here. I mean, this energy from Stephen A. Smith, this is the energy of an independent candidate. This is the energy of a reformer. And you know what? Stick it right in my veins. I may not necessarily agree with his policy points and positions, but I can respect the man for being an independent thinker and not being a partisan that is looking to perpetuate a tribal point of view when it comes to governing in Washington, or to continue to toe a line that the good old boys had established for decades. Right now, many years out from the presidential election cycle in 2028, it's nice to dream about a Stephen A. candidacy if you're someone on the left that is frustrated with how things have been going for your party as of late. It's nice to think about having a left-leaning populist with national recognition and who doesn't have the taint of a political record as your standard bearer, much like Republicans fell in love with the idea of Trump being that same type of candidate in 2016. Clearly, it's also the nightmare of some insiders like that dinosaur Carville, who tried to put cold water on the entire idea to begin with, try to nip it in the bud. But all he did really is allow Stephen A. Smith the opportunity to show his class, to show that he's able to rhetorically play with the big boys. I mean, after all, he's been talking about sports and having real hot takes that he needed to defend for several years now, and has been very successful at it. So he's able to form arguments and to grab attention when needed. I think that he would need more than a few weeks to understand the nuance of politics. Probably more like a few months, maybe a year, to really dive down into it, do a deep dive into the political landscape, get the lay of the land, and to also associate with people around him that he could trust to guide him where others would try to sabotage him. And I think that was the problem with the first Trump presidency. He thought he found those people, and in many cases, they weren't his friends. They ended up being snakes that betrayed him, or that he did not have trust in, and he gave trust to them and ended up paying for giving that trust. So that would be an obstacle that Stephen A. Smith would have to sort of jump over in order to be considered a serious candidate in 2028, if he even wants to go down that route. He seems pretty happy just talking about whatever he wants to talk about, not really having anyone to answer to, and being able to say what he wants. There's a freedom to being on the outside of politics and talking politics. You get more credibility that way, But you also make a lot of enemies that way within parties if you talk bad about sort of your own, if you go against the quote-unquote party line. But when you think about populism and the success of populism on the right, I wouldn't blame the left for embracing that same sort of populism from a left of center candidate like a Stephen A. Smith. I'm sure that Josh Shapiro and Wes Moore and Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom wouldn't like it. But I also think it would be very interesting to see those same people on a debate stage with Stephen A. Smith. I would pay to see that. Hook that in my veins. But listen, hey, that's just my opinion on these possibilities on the left. Mainly, I got the popcorn out, and I want to see Stephen A. take steps forward into politics just to see how he would skewer partisans on both the left and the right. I would really be entertained by that. But I want to know what you think about a possible Stephen A. Smith candidacy. Let me know in the comments. We'll hit those discussions together. And as always, like and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. Tell me what you think about a populist left emerging after a Trump presidency. Is that a good thing? Do you think that the right would be threatened by someone like Stephen A. Smith? Certainly the left seems to be so. Let's get into those comments together to discuss this video and all the other shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.